21. I just want to do a recap. What did we say is very crucial as far as consuming for the brain? What food did we say? Specific vitamins that are very crucial for the brain and for the nervous system. B vitamins. Specifically,
12.
your thiamine, your niacin, and your riboflavin. That's B1, B3, and I believe B6. B vitamins. Now, are we supposed to eat amino acids? Are we supposed to eat amino acids? What are we supposed to eat? We're on class 23. You're new to our class. Welcome, Sister Prashanda.
Welcome.
And if you want to catch up, their videos are on the website. Okay? What do we have to eat in order to get amino acids in our body? Very good, protein. You don't want to eat amino acids. We are not supposed to eat free aminos because it causes an imbalance with the neurotransmitters in the brain. And you can have a misfire in the synapses. You guys understanding what I'm saying? Okay, so we want to eat proteins. What foods, okay, before we go into the proteins, we're going to talk about proteins in a minute. How many, my boys and I were just studying this week in our health class, and I said, that's amazing because this is information I need. How many amino acids are there total? What did you say?
I said a lot.
What did you say? 21. There's 21 amino acids.
And none of them are good for us?
Oh, no. These are what is in our body. But there's 8 to 9 essential amino acids. Now, what does that mean? 8 to 9 essential amino acids. That means that our body does not make this. So where do we have to get it from? We have to get it from the food. Now, what foods, what breaks into amino acids? We talked about protein. So, we need to eat protein in order to get the 8 to 9 essential amino acids. But when I say protein, am I talking about animal protein? No, because what did we learn animal protein causes? Disease, cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. So, how do we get our protein?
From nuts.
Well, I would say from
What did the prophet of the Lord tell us? In fruits, vegetables, nuts, and grains contain all the elements necessary to make good blood. Is protein an element?
But what's the primary source?
I'm gonna go into that right now. Now, it used to be believed that, here's what it is. You have grains and you have legumes, okay? Now, it used to be believed, when you look at the ingredients of grains and legumes, I believe it's grains have the methionine and the legumes don't. They have a lot of amino acids, but there's one missing. These have a lot of amino acids that are the same as these, but the one that's not missing here is made up here, and the one that's missing here is made up here. I forgot the 2 names. I'll make sure I bring them the next time. When you combine your grain and legumes, you have what's called a what?
Complete protein.
Complete protein. But medical science just found out it used to be believed that you had to eat them at the same meal, at each meal. Medical science found out that you can have your grains at one meal and you can have your legumes at another meal. Now, which meal, in most cases, do we eat the majority of our grains?
breakfast.
Breakfast. Your oatmeal, your toast with your jelly, right?
Cereal.
Your cereal. And which meal do we eat our legumes mostly?
Dinner.
Your later meal, absolutely. So it's okay to combine them at each meal if you want, but it's not required like it used to be thought. Because why? We don't need as much protein as we used to think. What's causing? Are Americans over-proteinized? Yes, they are. And what is that causing? That's causing the calcium to be leached out in the urine. We have the highest osteoporosis in the world, but we're the highest consumers of dairy. Why is that? Because we're eating too much protein. So grains and legumes, vegetables have a little bit of amount of protein. Okay? But when you eat your grains and legumes, and fruits, vegetables, nuts, and grains, and your nuts would include your legumes, your seeds, contain all the elements to make good blood. That would include vitamin B12. And I think I told you guys a couple weeks ago, Dr. Neil Nedley said that medical science is now saying that 100% vegetarians have more B12 than meat eaters. That's because we're eating the fruits, vegetables, nuts, and grains. Understandable?
We stay more alert.
Amen. Amen. Okay. Now, we're going to get into this week's. I'm going to read a quote. This is Mind, Character, and Personality, Volume 2, page 415. And just to address the sister who hasn't been coming to the meetings, we started at the basics. This is kind of advanced, but you can go back and watch them all. And we're trying to, can I ask the class, have the classes been thorough?
Yes.
Have they been understandable to you?
Yes.
Are they teaching you how to get to the root of disease
Yes.
without having to use medication?
Yes.
Okay, praise the Lord.
And it taught me some recipes to make certain stuff.
Yes, and we did last week, we did remedies. Okay, I'm reading in page 415, paragraph 2. The title is Laws Governing the Mind. This week's class is part 3. It's mostly in the mind. And the reason I use that title, she says 9/10 of disease start where class? In the mind. Okay. Paragraph 2, we are told, Creator ordained laws of the mind. He who created the mind and ordained its laws provided for its development in accordance with them. So God has laws of the mind. We're going to be going over what these laws are. Law number 1. It is a law of the mind that it will narrow or expand to the dimension of the thing which it becomes familiar. That's a law of the mind. Your mind will either narrow or expand based upon the things that you become familiar with. So let's name a thing or two that can make the mind narrow. Television, right? Television, if you're watching an action movie, that can actually narrow your mind. Now, what if you're watching a DVD on the 2520? Is that going to narrow or expand your mind?
Expand.
It's going to expand your mind.
Spiritual.
By beholding, we become changed, right? She said the highest education that we can get
Isn't it?
that will expand the mind greater than anything is the study of the Bible. Amen. Whenever helping people with mental disorders, try to get them to start reading the scriptures, even if it's just one proverb a day. This is the key. This doctor, Seventh-day Adventist doctor, she teaches health according to the spirit of prophecy. Her name is Magna Parks. She deals with atheists and agnostics all the time. She makes them read the scriptures, and they do it. And they come back to her and said it helped. So if it's the 3rd of the month, have them read chapter 3. If it's the 8th of the month, have them start off with chapter 8. But do the date corresponding to the chapter, or the chapter corresponding to the date. Law number 2, and this is all coming from Mind, Character, and Personality, and when I email you the lecture notes, it'll have all the quotes. Law number 2, God designed that men shall not decide from impulse, but from weight of evidence.
Amen.
Don't just go along with something because you're told, go study it, get your concordance, get the index to the writings. When somebody tells you that the Sunday law passed or something, go search. You know, look for yourself. Just don't grab on the coattail of someone else. Because if you do that, your mind doesn't expand. Reasoning out things exercises the mind. Do not always make impulsive decisions. Sometimes you might need to. You know, your child's bleeding, you've got to be impulsive. But in most cases, you don't want to do that. Think things through before giving an answer or before coming to a conclusion without having weighed out the evidences first. Is that understandable? So if you hear somebody did something wrong, you know, Satan will always paint a picture that doesn't exist. That's happened to me. I thought somebody did this, but it wasn't that way. We have to weigh the evidences. Get the facts before you come to your conclusion. She says that has an effect on the mind. Law number 3, it is a law of nature that our thoughts and feelings are encouraged and strengthened as we give them utterance. What does she say? It is a law of nature that our thoughts and feelings are encouraged and strengthened as we give them utterance. The more you say you feel sick, the more sick you're going to feel, even if you feel sick. The more you complain about something, the more it's going to, you're going to make that picture bigger than it really was. You ever heard the saying, making a mountain out of a molehill? Just by your utterances. Life and death are what? In the power of the tongue. If we have a thought in our mind or a feeling in our heart and we speak it, we strengthen those feelings by speaking them. This can be true of the positive things as well. So if it's positive, speak it. But if it's negative, give it to the Lord. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. She says, while words express thoughts, it is often true that thoughts follow words.
Amen.
So when you say something, you're going to start thinking things. You get it? Number 4, rule number 4. It is an important law of the mind that when a desired object is so firmly denied as to remove all hope, the mind will soon cease to long for it and will be occupied in other pursuits. But as long as there is any hope of gaining the desired object, an effort will be made to obtain it. Who do you think of when you hear that quote? I think of children. You know? If you know they like candy, should you have candy in front of them?
No.
What about somebody trying to quit smoking?
No.
So if you're dealing with somebody who's trying to quit smoking, you need to tell them to remove all lighters, remove all ashtrays, any contraband that's connected to that thing that they're trying to get rid of. When you tell your child no, you can't wander and waver. You have to be so consistent that they know when mom says no, it's no. My children knew when we went to the store and they asked for anything, mama stopped what she was doing and we went to the bathroom with a little wooden spoon. Because there were rules we did not, you know, you just don't do. You don't act up in the store. But you have to take that item out of the way so it doesn't strengthen their desire. Number 5, these are laws of the mind, according to mind, character, and personality. And there's a whole chapter called Laws of the Mind. The consciousness of right doing is the best medicine for diseased bodies and minds. Is that true? Yes. These people don't have the guilt. What did Paul say in Romans chapter 8, verse 1? There's no what? Condemnation. Do you know that guilt can weigh heavily on you to where it can make you sick? Do you know that? So right doing is the best medicine for a diseased body. So tell the people to do right, to make right choices. It's just putting one foot in front of the other, step by step. If you're trying to teach someone, sorry, wrong one. Oh, what about this? Isaiah 58, verses 6 through 8.
Preach.
Is not this the fast that I have chosen, to loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, and that you break every yoke? Is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry, and that thou bring the poor that are cast out to thy house? When thou seest the naked, that thou cover him, and that thou hide not thyself from thine own flesh. Then shall thy light break forth as the morning, and thine health shall spring forth what? Speedily. And thy righteousness shall go before thee. The glory of the Lord shall be thy reward. So, we learn that consciousness of right doing is the best medicine for diseased bodies and minds. So what should we tell and teach depressed people to do?